at 609-403-0973 on the text board. You also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. I'll reestablish my pick for the series a little bit later, but I think most people know by now what my pick is for the series. If you don't know, well, I'll give it to you in just a bit. But a couple things we want to hit on before we talk with Bryan Toporek. First of all, I can't ignore the Phillies game last night. And you can, whether you want to text in at 609-403-0973 or DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Look, last night's game felt like it was supposed to be a loss, but the Phillies found a way to win. And I'm not going to begrudge them for that at all. But what I am going to say is I think that when you look at their win last night, I know there's a lot of people who have a lot of conflicting opinions after the game last night. I think they were lucky. That's the simplest explanation I can give, and here's why. You have a situation where you look at Aaron Nola. He gave up one hit through 5 innings. One hit. And then gets blasted, crushed in the 6th inning. For his career, I looked this up earlier. I couldn't believe it was this. Aaron Nola has a 4.25 ERA in the 6th inning and a 4.48 ERA in the 7th inning. So basically, as soon as Aaron Nola gets to the 6th and 7th innings, he goes from being a good pitcher to a barely Major League Baseball adequate pitcher. So, maybe there is something to the whole thing. Remember a few years ago, people criticized Gabe Kapler for pulling Aaron Nola early from a game. Well, maybe Kapler knew something that we didn't back then, because it seems very apparent that Aaron Nola just doesn't have it. He just doesn't have it once he gets to a certain point in the game. So that was the first problem last night. The second problem is, how on earth does the Phillies bullpen go from Sanchez to Hand to Knebel and not give up any damage at all? Is a miracle. Then Nick Maton, who just got called up yesterday, all of a sudden gets thrust into the lineup, and he has to go out there and hits a home run. And then Kyle Schwarber goes out there. He hits a home run. And that's why the Phillies won last night. The offense woke up without Harper, without Segura, 2 of their better hitters, and they leaned on Maton and Schwarber last night. I can't read too much into that win. You lost 3 straight games in extra innings in the manner where you found ways to lose, and then it looks like you have a chance to win the game. Aaron Nola implodes in the 6th. Your bullpen goes lights out for 3 innings after that, and you win the game thanks to the offense of Maton and Schwarber. I get back to what we talked about before. This team needs to trade somebody, okay? It's getting to the point where this team, no offense, they might need to make a trade just for the sake of making a trade. They need to shake up this team because Nick Maton came in and helped save you last night. Think about all the guys on this roster. Alec Bohm was a high first-round pick. I believe he was 3rd overall pick. You got all this money invested in Real Muto, all this money invested in Castellanos. You have Bryson Stott was one of your top prospects who came up to start playing more this year. You have all this talent on the field, but yet Nick Maton was the guy who had to pick you up. Sanchez, a guy who doesn't even pitch almost at all this year. He had to go out and save you last night. At what point do we just accept the fact that this team needs a shakeup? And look, you could point to the I'm drawing a blank. Girardi. Thank you. The manager, Girardi, all you want. Fire the manager. Well, I gave you the stat here. Sarah Langs of MLB.com said that only 14% of the teams that have ever fired a manager in season ever reached the postseason after that. Just think about how completely insane that is. We live in a world where so few of these guys ever do anything. 174 teams since 1969 had fired a manager in season or had a managerial change of some sort in season. Of those 174 teams, only 14 made the postseason. 14 out of 174 doesn't make me that confident that firing Girardi is going to be the answer. But I'll lean back on what I said a few days ago on Twitter. I think it's time to strongly consider moving on from Hoskins. I don't think you need to move on from Nola. I just think you need to manage him a little bit better as a coaching staff. And Real Muto's got to do a better job with him as well. Because if Aaron Nola basically has a history now that when he goes in the sixth inning, he has trouble, you either need to get him out of the game before the sixth inning, or you need to do a better job of managing him going into the sixth inning. And that's on the catcher. That's on the pitching coach. And it should be on the manager as well. You know, Joe Girardi is a former catcher himself. He was a one-time All-Star. He won a World Series as a catcher for the Yankees. It's not like this guy is some buffoon when it comes to pitchers, or at least he shouldn't be. I think that the only answer right now is trade Hoskins, try to either find somebody who can either play center field or second base. Because at the end of the day, adding a bullpen pitcher right now is not going to fix anything. Frankly, if I'm the Phillies, if I go out and get a starter, it makes way more sense than a bullpen pitcher. The only thing this team should prioritize right now is either finding a permanent solution for center field, a starting pitcher, and to me, those are the priorities, because your outfield situation is completely a tenuous mess right now. And your starting staff, they have ability, but they're just not good enough. So to me, I think that in today is a day off for the Phillies. They probably need it, considering Harper couldn't play yesterday. Girardi can't decide if he wants to pitch guys on back-to-back days anyway. Maybe Girardi needs a day off. Maybe Girardi needs a day away from the baseball field altogether. Maybe Girardi, hopefully today, took a day to binge watch something on Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus instead of thinking about baseball. Like, get your mind away from the game. Hit the reset button. Because you got one of the best teams of baseball coming to town this weekend. Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, and the Angels are one of the best teams in all of baseball. You know, you've heard Steve Buchanan from DraftKings, who's come on here, talk about it. He thinks the Angels are the most fun team to watch in all of baseball. And you got this really good team coming in here for a weekend set. And you got to win some games here. I mean, you just had a horrible losing streak. After splitting with the Braves, you get shellacked by the Mets. You lose 3 straight in extra innings. You finally win a game yesterday. You got to win some games this weekend because you're going to hit the road to play the Brewers, who are also really good. I don't know if Dave Weinberg said yesterday he still has hope for this team. I'm kind of on the fence right now. I was telling you guys yesterday, maybe this team needs to talk to Harper about shutting it down if his arm is seriously hurt. I think the biggest solution for this team right now is they need to take Hoskins and start shopping him. I hope Dombrowski gets on the phone either tonight or tomorrow and starts calling around to see who is what and what is who around the baseball right now. Because as long as that guy is in Tommy fan, I'll welcome the guy with open arms to be in a Phillies uniform. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Tonight is the NBA Finals, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier this week. I think that there is a big part of this NBA Finals that is going to be a mirror situation going on. I think that the Warriors are the godfathers of the modern era of basketball. This concept of the three-point shot and the spacing and the, shoot a three, run back on defense, play defense really hard, run back on offense, shoot a three, rinse and repeat. They're the foundation of this era of basketball. You saw the Cavs have to morph their roster to try to keep up with them, which they won the one championship but lost the two others to them. When they got Durant, you saw that when the Bucks won last year, that they had Giannis basically be the centerpiece of the team, but it was Holiday and Middleton shooting from the outside, really establishing, their ability to do certain things. Now you have the Celtics come in. The Celtics feel like they're the first team that is trying to take the Warriors model and elevate it. Because the Celtics are not a pure three-point shooting team, but they have guys who can hit threes. The Warriors have two of the best three-point shooters in NBA history on their roster. The Celtics play a high level of defense. This is going to be a very, very intense series. You have Steve Kerr's experience, Ime Udoka's ingenuity and strategy. You have Steph Curry, who is going to be go down as probably one of the best players of this era. If he's not top 5 already in this era. And it's going to come down to who is going to be able to play their game better. We'll ask Bryan Toporek from the NBA podcast coming up next. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. NBA Finals tonight. Coverage begins at 8 p.m.
Wake up with Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Weekday mornings at 6 on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Download it now in the Apple Store or Google Play.
With prices soaring at the pump, filling up can be stressful. That's why Discover has your back with cashback. Use Discover to earn 5% cash back at gas stations and Target, now through June, on up to $1,500 in purchases when you activate. We know every dollar matters right now, but you can count on us. Get up to $75 cash back this quarter with your Discover It card. Limitations apply. Learn more at discover.com/rewards.
97.3 ESPN and TracFone Wireless want to share ideas with you for enjoying the great outdoors in South Jersey. Here are some popular outdoor ideas this spring. How about taking a walk on the Ocean City, Atlantic City, or Wildwood boardwalks? Or check out the perfect place to watch a sunset. How about the Point in Longport or the Cove in Brigantine? Brought to you by TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control.
In the wee hours of the night, when everyone else is fast asleep, you're the one on third shift, burning the midnight oil. When a part fails and everything comes to a grinding halt, regardless of what the clock on the wall says, you leap into action. Grainger is with you and all the ones who get it done. With 24/7 customer support by phone or click to chat. Call, click Grainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Imagine a world where one app can deliver all your favorite brands and more. With DoorDash, get everyday essentials like groceries, convenience items, and your favorite local restaurants delivered. For a limited time, get 50% off and zero delivery fees on your first order of $15 or more using promo code ORDER22 when you download the DoorDash app or go to DoorDash.com. That's 50% off up to a $12 value and zero delivery fees on your first order when you use code ORDER22. Subject to change, terms apply. Get more from your neighborhood with DoorDash.
Get Macy's lowest prices of the season and save big on summer style essentials, like 50 to 60% off all designer suits for an effortless touch of cool, 40 to 75% off fine jewelry to complete any look, and get ready to jet set with Tag Ridgefield luggage sets just $74.99. Plus, Macy's Star Rewards members earn on every purchase except gift cards, services, and fees. Sign up for free at Macys.com/Star Rewards. Savings off sale and clearance prices, exclusions apply.
What's all the buzz about cleaning your nose, nasal hygiene, and Navage? The science is simple. Your nose is the body's air filter for trapping allergens and viruses, but it's not perfect. Like washing your hands and brushing your teeth, it's time to start cleaning your nose too. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril to the back of the nose where most germs and viruses multiply, then flushes them out the other nostril before they reach your lungs. My name's Martin Hoke, and I didn't invent nasal irrigation. It's been around thousands of years. I did invent Navage to make it easy for everyone. In less than 30 seconds, you can clean your nose. And because it's all natural and drug-free, it's safe to use Navage every single day. Are you ready to join nearly 3 million people who use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier? At Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage, Navage, clean nose, healthy life.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with expertise and tools with Windows 11 to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. To do more with a Latitude laptop, Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
No matter the make, no matter the mileage, no matter what you owe, Matt Blatt Kia wants your vehicle today. We need to replenish our inventory, so we need your vehicle, no matter the situation. Even if you're stuck in a loan or a lease, Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released. Get cash for your car today, even if you don't buy a car from us. But why wouldn't you buy a new vehicle? Because if you have a job and clear $350 per week, Matt Blatt Kia wants to approve you today with zero down and zero payments for 90 days on any brand new Kia or pre-owned vehicle in stock. And don't forget, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
On approved credit plus applicable taxes and fees. See dealer for details. Not all will qualify. Deferred payment through TFCU. Interest accrues from date of sale. Offers don't combine. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 6/30/22. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 and Toms River.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night, getting you ready for NBA Finals Game 1 here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. tonight. I just saw a graphic that said 63% of all bets right now in the series are coming in on the Celtics. I've now heard multiple people tell me that the Celtics are going to win this series. I personally don't think so. Does anybody agree with me? Well, we'll find out. Bryan Toporek from the NBA podcast joins us right now here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Bryan, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, Josh. I hope you're right. I don't want the Celtics to win either.
So, no, that's the question, though. Do you think they will win, though?
It's so tough to say because I could see this series going either way, honestly. Like, no outcome would surprise me short of either team sweeping. It's, given the health of Boston, Time Lord Robert Williams could barely get up the floor in Game 7 of that Miami series. So I'm curious to see what he looks like with a couple days off here. There's going to be more rest in this series than there was throughout the Eastern Conference Finals. It was every other day. I think between games 3 and 4 of the finals are the only time it's a 1-day break. So he's going to have 2 days of rest for most of this series, which should help. But, Tatum got banged up in that series. Marcus Smart got banged up in that series. So how close to 100% are any of those guys? And for Williams in particular, I think he's going to play a big role defensively, blocking off the paint for Golden State, where they ran a layup line for most of the series against the Mavericks. So if they can't generate the easy offense there that they could against Dallas, it comes down to, make or miss league. Like, are they able to knock down the high volume of threes that they're going to need to against this Boston defense?
One of my biggest things about this series, Brian, is I feel like the Celtics are trying to be like the Warriors. They're saying the Warriors dynasty, or whatever you want to call it, was built on 3-point shooting and defense. And even though the Celtics are like, look, we don't have Steph and Clay, but we have good enough shooters who can get hot. And if we play a high enough level defense, we can win. And it's gotten them this far. And, I remember, Udoka saying a couple months ago, if we just play better defense, we can go places. Well, now they're in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I mean, there was a great profile from Jackie McMullen on The Ringer yesterday of Udoka and how he helped turn their season around, because they were rudderless 4 months ago. We were hearing, should they break up Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum? And it was a genuine conversation. And yeah, I mean, Marcus Smart had that quote sometime in January where he talked about them not wanting to pass the ball. And I guess, Udoka confronted him afterward. It was like, hey man, your teammates are hurt by this. This is your mess. Clean it up. So he established a system of accountability, which is a word that we've heard thrown around these parts a lot over the last couple of years. But for whatever reason, he was able to do that and do that successfully. And he got those guys to buy in, especially defensively. Jackie's piece made it clear that that was their identity. And if they, given their personnel, there's not a weak defender among their top 6 or 7 guys, honestly. So, I think that's something that's defined them throughout this playoff run, where, a lot of other teams have been trying to attack mismatches. So, we saw it with Jimmy Butler against the Sixers. He was really hunting Tyrese Maxey whenever he got matched up against him. That option wasn't available against Boston. He tried occasionally, like when Peyton Pritchard got switched on them, he would try to hunt that, but otherwise there's nothing. So I'm intrigued to see how the two starting fives match up against one another in this series, because it does feel like Boston matches up better defensively against the Warriors than the Warriors do against Boston.
All right, so let me play devil's advocate for a minute. And listen, people can call me a hater. I've already had there's a Celtics fan who texts every once in a while who rips me for this. But here's my thing. I think the Celtics are as lucky as their green uniforms, because if Grant Williams doesn't hit all those, 7 threes in game 7, do they really beat the Bucks? If Jimmy Butler makes that 3 in game 7, do they really beat the Heat? How much of this Celtics run is them getting some lucky breaks, and now they're going against a team that literally doesn't make the same mistakes as their other opponents have?
See, I think the Warriors do make those same mistakes. That's the problem.
Okay.
We saw it against Memphis in particular. The Warriors are just so, movement heavy, both in terms of they are flying all over the court, but they're also just passing a ton. That has been their Achilles heel throughout this entire dynastic run. Is they just sometimes have these absolutely boneheaded turnovers, and Boston is going to make them pay for it. So I think that's a huge key to the series, is which team shoots themselves in the foot less.
So does that just come down to veteran experience then? Is it Steph, Clay, and Draymond have been here, and Jason Tatum is in awe of the banner at media day yesterday? You know what I mean?
Right.
How much of this is, for example, Marcus Smart, he's too nuts to be bothered by anything. Like the bright lights aren't going to bother him. But, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, this is the first time they've ever been in this situation. Is there a part of the Warriors that says, we've been here, nothing phases us, and Boston might need to work through more of those emotions?
Maybe in game one. I think as the series progresses, probably not. They'll get used to it pretty quickly. And I would think, if anything, maybe the nerves are flying like the first quarter of game one. But even after that, I think you just settle in and it's still a basketball game, right? Like all of the extra media you've got to deal with before and after the game, sure. But like, are you really thinking about that, in the third quarter of a game? Like, I think both of these teams are just going to be, I think they both know that this, they are respectively the toughest opponents they've faced in the playoffs. This is going to be the toughest challenge they've faced, and they're going to have a healthy amount of respect. Like, we're not going to see, them like Boston, toying with its food like they did against Brooklyn, or, the Warriors, what they did against the Mavericks. Like, we're not going to see 20 minutes of Nemanja Bjelica, I hope. Because, Steve Kerr is going to know, like, all right, I got to tighten my rotation. I can't go 11 deep in this series.
Bryan Toporek joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at Toporek on Twitter. Check out the NBA podcast. Like, subscribe, download, give it 5 stars. Also, Bryan's coverage in Forbes Sports. One more thing on this game before we get to what you wrote about yesterday, because the Sixers news that came out yesterday is very, very interesting. But one more thing. If the Warriors win this series, do we treat them differently in like the history of the league? Because, for example, and I'm not saying it's apples, but when Duncan and Ginobili won their last title with Kawhi, it kind of, you looked at those 3 guys differently, right? You looked at Parker, Ginobili, and Duncan a little differently. If Michael doesn't win the second three-peat with the Bulls, we look at him differently? If Isaiah Thomas doesn't come back and win those 2 titles, a lot of these guys, we put them on these pedestals because of what they did later, not just in the beginning. Could the Warriors be writing a similar narrative for themselves?
It's definitely possible. I think if anything, adding one more ring to the collection is only going to raise all of them up in the like all-time ranks. So I'm already seeing some, like, if Steph Curry wins, he's going to be a top 10 all-time player. Klay Thompson, I know, was not thrilled that he did not make the 75 best players in the NBA list earlier this season. Like, something tells me, if he wins another ring this year, he's going to be on the top 100 in 25 years. Or, if they could have a redo, he'd be in the top 75. So I think in that regard, yes. But otherwise, you can't tell the story of the past like 10 years of basketball without the Golden State Warriors. So I think regardless of what happens in this series, we should remember them as, some of the ones that ushered in how basketball looks right now. Like, Steph Curry just completely changed the game of basketball, and it wasn't just him. Daryl Morey helped usher this along, Mike D'Antoni with the Phoenix Suns. Like, this has been progressing over time, but some of the schematic changes that the Warriors did back in like the mid 2010s, now other teams are trying to emulate that.
Oh, I got Warriors winning this series in 7.
Yeah, that's what I went with too, but I don't feel good about it. Like, I could just as easily see Boston winning, so I'm glad that I have no actual dog in this fight.
Let's get to the Sixers, because the news came out yesterday that they're getting that draft pick this year.
Yeah.
And I think this is a massive piece of news. And I know for Sixer fans, they're probably like, who cares? It's a draft pick. But you should care, to me, Bryan, because this now gives Morey legitimate ammunition for a trade. Because now when he can call somebody and say, I want to trade Tobias Harris, for example, I'm not just trading Tobias Harris and Matisse Thybulle. I'm giving you a first-round pick as well. It's almost like the Nets basically did the Sixers a favor here.
Yeah, I mean, they could have traded. If the Nets took their pick this year, the Sixers could have traded their pick next year after the draft. So, the uncertainty of that might have been more appealing, and I think that's what the Nets are banking on. Their worst-case scenario is that the Sixers just run roughshod next year. They get the 30th pick. Oh, well, the hit rate in the 20s isn't that high anyway. So big deal. But like, God forbid, James Harden's contract negotiations break down and he walks as a free agent this summer for nothing, or like Joel Embiid gets hurt and misses most of next season. That pick is fully unprotected next year. So there is some dangerous upside there. But yeah, you're right. Like, there is now a tangible, okay, now you can get the number 23 pick. They can't trade it until draft night. So what would happen is, they can agree in principle to a deal, make the pick on behalf of another team, and then actually trade it afterward. So that is not a huge roadblock, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a deal, even like reports of a deal, until they're on the clock. Like, if I'm the Sixers, I would like to see how the board falls, because there are some potentially intriguing prospects in that range. I wrote about this in Forbes, but I'm going to say this every time I come on between now and July 1st. It all comes down to James Harden and what he does with his contract this summer. If he picks up his player option, that's going to set them down one path where they're probably only going to have the taxpayer mid-level exception, which is $6.4 million, and nothing but minimum contracts from there. If he opts out and he's willing to take, $5 or $6 million less than his max next season, then that opens some doors. They might have a little bit more money to play with in free agency. And then, the 23 pick is going to cost a little bit more than a veteran minimum. So, how they balance all of that and stay under the line that they need to, I think is going to be the dance that Daryl and the Sixers need to figure out over the next couple of weeks.
Now, if I know the schedule, the draft is before the league year free agency starts, right?
Yeah. So the draft is June 23rd. Harden has to opt out by June 29th, and then free agency starts June 30th. If he does not opt out, if he picks up the player option, he can't negotiate, or he can't agree officially to a new extension until August 10th. But yeah, the calendar is working against them because they might not know what Harden intends to do. Ideally, like, they will square this thing away by June 23rd, so they know either way. But there's no guarantee that's going to happen.
Which leads to my next question. So in the NFL, there's this tampering rule. You can't talk to players, you can't talk to agents till a certain date. Is that rule in place with the NBA as well? Or could Daryl Morey pick up the phone right now and call James Harden?
Yeah, because he's got a player option and he's technically under contract right now, like, they can negotiate an extension. They just can't officially agree to it.
Well, that's big, really quick, Brian, because, Harden doesn't have an agent. Right. In the past, he's gotten advice from people how to sign contracts. And, if him and Daryl Morey's relationship is as great as everybody says it is, there's no reason why Morey can't get on the phone with Harden every day until the end of the month and just be like, hey, man, how you doing? What you doing? What's going, like, I'm not saying he's going to do that, but like, I'll never forget Elton Brand at a press conference saying he called Timberwolves every day asking for an update on Jimmy Butler till he finally capitulated and made the trade. Like, Morey's got that part of him. I'm not gonna call him crazy, okay? But I'm gonna say he's got that part of him where he's a little eccentric and he's not afraid to do what it takes to win.
Yeah. I mean, James, after the season, after the Game 6 loss, said he'll do whatever it takes to build a championship caliber supporting cast around him. And to me, that signals he's willing to take a little less. I think Daryl's mission over the next 3 weeks, among figuring out the rest of the offseason plan, is doing exactly that. Like, he should be in constant contact with James saying, we would really like to have this plan in place by June 23rd, because this could influence a lot of what we do this offseason otherwise. So I think, the first order of business is figure out number of years you're willing to commit to him, amount of money you're willing to commit to him. And then, from there, if I'm James, I just tell the Sixers, like, you structure the contract however you think is best. Like, if you want me to get the most money now and then my contract descends over time, that's cool. If you want me to take, $30 million in the first year, my contract increases over time, that's cool. Whatever you think is best. But let's figure out the structure first, so then we can go into the offseason, go into the draft, knowing exactly, okay, we have this to play with. We have our draft pick, We have this amount of money to spend on free agents. Maybe that will influence. Do we have to dump Furkan Korkmaz? Do we waive Danny Green, who's fully
Every
non-guaranteed?
Sixer fan saying yes, dump Korkmaz.
Yeah, right, right. But it takes two to tango, so you have to give up something else potentially. But yeah, everything. Like, I'm going to write this a million times over the next 4 weeks. Everything comes back to Harden this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. The other side of this is I've seen a lot of speculation that the Sixers are going to trade Thibault in some capacity this offseason. It's starting to feel like they should have traded Thibault in the Ben Simmons deal instead of Seth Curry all along. There's a lot of Sixer fans who feel that way. Is it going to be worth to keep Thibault?
So I don't think they could have traded him in the Ben Simmons deal, knowing what we know now. Brooklyn still had the COVID vaccine mandate in place at the time. And as we later found out, Thibault is not fully vaccinated. So that even if Brooklyn wanted him, that was probably a roadblock that they could not have overcome.
Gotcha.
Thibault is heading into the last year of his rookie contract. So he's eligible for an extension this summer. I think given how he fared in the playoffs, I would be pretty surprised if he and the team could find a number that they agree on. If anything, it feels like it would be very team friendly. So, no, I think you could play it out over the final year of his deal, let him become a restricted free agent, see what the market says next summer. The problem with him is that he's earning so little money. It's like $4.3 million, I want to say, next year. So it's hard to get an impact player back for that amount of money. Like, you can't get like a $30 million player back just for Thibault. You'd have to package him with someone else. So, maybe you package him with Korkmaz, who's earning $5 million next year. Or maybe you fully guarantee Danny Green's salary and he's $10 million. And then you can package him with Thibault and bring back, someone in the high teens. That's an option as well. But again, that also, there are domino effects. So if you do that, that's going to affect how far over the luxury tax outline you are, which exceptions you have to use. And that all once again comes back to Harden. If he's at 30 million, then, maybe you could pull all that off, bring in a player earning 15 million and still have the bigger exceptions. But, again, it's like everything comes back to Harden. You have to know what he's doing first, or else you can't really make any of these other big moves.
Before I let you go, did you see what Andre Drummond put on Instagram?
About how he is the best to ever do it or something like that?
So he had the 3 highest rebounding games in the Sixers season. And he puts out, I'll say it again, I'm the best to ever do it. A lot of Sixer fans are taking this as Andre Drummond will be in a Sixers uniform next year. So I ask you, Bryan, rank these 3 players in terms of who is most likely to be on a Sixers uniform next year.
Oh boy. Okay.
Andre Drummond, PJ Tucker, Matisse Thybulle.
Oh. Matisse Thybulle's number 1. Very clearly.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Drummond wants actual money. Like, I don't think he wants to come back on a minimum deal. And frankly, like, he was great. He was fine. Probably the best backup center that they've had for Embiid. I have a lot of concerns about his viability in the playoffs. I mean, he's not going to solve any of the problems that they actually need to solve. So I'm in the camp of, let's let Paul Reed and Charles Bassey battle it out for that backup center spot. And if those guys aren't the answer, okay, bring in someone who's willing to be on a min deal. PJ Tucker is interesting. I know his name is popping up a lot. He's connected with Morey. I can't imagine he's going to leave Miami. He seemed happy there. They can pay him. He could turn down his player option, which is around $7 million. He could re-sign for about 8.4, and they don't have to tap into any of their exceptions. The Sixers potentially could offer him upward of 10.3, so they could possibly offer him more money. I don't know if that's a good way to spend their full mid-level exception. They do need the toughness that they all said at the end of their series against Miami, and he certainly would bring that. But I think he's staying in Miami. So because of that, I guess I would go Thibault, Drummond, Tucker, but I don't think either Drummond or Tucker could be on the roster next year.
Well, that's disappointing. Every Sixer fan just got depressed now.
I know. I'm sorry. There are other guys. There are plenty of other guys, especially if they've got the full 10.3, that there are some like genuinely, the free agent class is lacking in big names, especially if Harden resigns here, if Beal stays in Washington, Kyrie resigns at Brooklyn, which who knows at this point. So, short on star power, but plenty of role players, which is a good place for us to be in.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm glad you mentioned the whole Kyrie thing, because it's like Kyrie and Durant are a package deal.
Yeah.
But yet the Nets are playing this shell game. And I'm like, you guys realize that if Kyrie is not back, Durant's just going to give you the middle finger and like try to get out of town. And I'm not saying this because like I love Kyrie per se. People know me. I've had my criticism of Kyrie for years now. But it's like, it was obvious that Durant said, Kyrie's my guy. Harden can take a hike. Like, this organization should be like, Kyrie, can you just sign like a 3-year deal that lines up with Durant's deal, and then we get rid of both of you in 3 years? Like that's what I would do if I'm the Nets. And then you mentioned Beal. I don't understand Beal's like love for Kyle Kuzma, but apparently like that's a factor in all this.
I didn't know that. I just knew he loved Washington and you
didn't hear the story? Apparently him and Kuzma are like NBA 2K like bros. And they just hang out and play NBA 2K. To which my first reaction was, you don't need to be on the same team to be 2K bros. But apparently the thing, like Beal loves Kyle Kuzma, to which I'm like, okay, I guess.
Like you're gonna get $200 million this summer, one way or the other. You can afford the PlayStation Plus membership for like $60 a year, Bradley. Come on.
You can pay for Kyle's membership if you want.
Yeah, you could buy a PS3 or PS4 every day of the week. Jeez, I did not hear that, but I maybe that is the final thing that pushes him over the edge. I think it's probably the $245 million contract. If someone's offering me $250 million, I don't care how miserable I am there. I'm taking the money. And then, we saw it with Ben this past year. Like, just because you sign a contract doesn't mean you're going to be there the whole time.
Well, that's true as well. Follow him on Twitter at @Toporek. Check out the NBA podcast. Download it, like, subscribe, give it the 5-star review. Check out Bryan's writing also over at Forbes Sports. He joined us right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Bryan, enjoy the NBA Finals. Hopefully the Celtics don't win.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, anyone but the Celtics, please.
Take care, Bryan.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app. NBA Finals Game 1, Celtics Warriors tonight at 8 p.m.
The NBA Finals on ESPN Radio.
Curry pull up for 30 feet, goes down as he high steps his way to half court.
Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors return to the finals for the 6th time in the last 8 years. They'll face the Boston Celtics, who are seeking their 18th NBA title, the most of all time.
Knocks down another one.
Game 1 of the Warriors and Celtics. Coverage begins tonight at 8 Eastern.
The NBA Finals, exclusively on 97.3 ESPN FM.
97.3 ESPN and TrackPhone Wireless want to share ideas with you for enjoying the great outdoors in South Jersey. Here are some popular outdoor ideas this spring. How about taking a walk on the Ocean City, Atlantic City, or Wildwood boardwalks? Or check out the perfect place to watch a sunset. How about the Point in Longport or the Cove in Brigantine? Brought to you by TrackPhone Wireless. Now you're in control.
COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too. If you feel symptoms, even if they're mild, you should test fast. Test positive and at high risk for severe COVID-19? Then act fast with authorized oral treatments that can be taken at home and must be taken within 5 days from when symptoms begin. COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too by asking your healthcare provider if an oral treatment is right for you. Learn about a treatment option at treatcv19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Every search you make, every click you take, they'll be watching you.
Tired of companies like Google and Facebook watching everything you do online? There's actually a simple solution. DuckDuckGo. It's an all-in-one privacy app with a built-in private search engine, web browser, one-click data clearing, email protection, and more, all for free. Download the app today and get the most comprehensive privacy protection with the push of a button. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
Hi, Tom Bodette here. Just thinking about how people all talk to cats the same way. You know, that calming voice those floofers pretend they can't hear, all cute and standoffish. It does get their motors purring, though. Let's see if it sounds like catnip to your ears when I say, pets stay free at Motel 6 in rooms that are more comfy than a box full of yarn. Do you like that, people? I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, the proud sponsor of pets, and we'll leave the laser light on. For you.
KFC knows that when it comes to chicken sandwiches, there's good and there's finger-licking good.
A chicken sandwich? That's good. A 100% white meat KFC chicken sandwich so delicious it forces you to rethink everything you know about sandwiches, including whether or not they even need buns, but then you remember how good a brioche bun can be and then having to rethink your rethinking? That's finger-licking good.
KFC's chicken sandwich, always served hot and crispy, in your choice of classic or spicy. Order now on the KFC app. Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's finger-licking good.
Prices and product availability may vary.
This is Matt Crowder live at the gas station on 41st Street reporting on those skyrocketing gas prices. Excuse me, miss. Are you buying less gas now because of the high prices?
Oh, I never pay full price for gas anymore. I just use the free Upside app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back every time I buy gas.
Well, does that actually add up to anything?
I've made around $200.
Wow. Well, there you have it. Stop paying full price for gas. Download the free Upside app and get real cash back every time you buy gas. This is Matt Crowder Radio News Network. Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code PATH for a $5 bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code PATH for a $5 bonus on your first tank. That's code PATH.
Drop what you're doing right now. The deals at Kohl's are too hot to last. I got my husband a few polos for just $9.99. Found myself a swimsuit for less than $18 and got sandals for my entire family for under $20. You seriously don't want to miss this. So run to your nearest Kohl's because with more style and more savings, this might just be the best summer yet. Select styles. Offers end June 5th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
In the wee hours of the night, when everyone else is fast asleep, you're the one on third shift, burning the midnight oil. When a part fails and everything comes to a grinding halt, regardless of what the clock on the wall says, you leap into action. Grainger is with you and all the ones who get it done. With 24/7 customer support by phone or click to chat. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Imagine a world where one app can deliver all your favorite brands and more. With DoorDash, get everyday essentials like groceries, convenience items, and your favorite local restaurants delivered. For a limited time, get 50% off and zero delivery fees on your first order of $15 or more using promo code ORDER22 when you download the DoorDash app or go to DoorDash.com. That's 50% off up to a $12 value and zero delivery fees on your first order when you use code ORDER22. Subject to change, terms apply. Get more from your neighborhood with DoorDash.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with expertise and tools with Windows 11 to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. To do more with a Latitude laptop, Dell Technologies recommends Windows 11 Pro for business. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing Charles Barkley in a pickup game.
We'll take Barkley.
Ha! First pick. Sorry, kids.
Yep, even easier than that. With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision?
Okay, here's the plan. Pass me the ball every time.
This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One NA member FDIC.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig getting ready to wrap up the show here on 97.3 ESPN. Thanks again to Bryan Toporek from the NBA podcast, Forbes NBA writer. A couple things where we get out of here. First of all, follow up on our Sixers conversation. I genuinely believe that Harden is in the only situation where he would not, exploit a team. I think the only person who can talk sense to Harden is Daryl Morey. I think that their relationship is so unique and so different that I really do think that Harden and Morey will be able to find a way to make this work. Now, what that looks like, I have no idea, because to be frank with you guys, I don't know what either man's way of thinking is. Morey is a guy who he does keep his cards close to the vest. He gives you a little hint sometimes, but he doesn't give you the answers to the test, to use that phrase. And Harden, you really have no idea what he thinks half the time, because he's not one of these guys who lives his life on social media. So we really don't know what's going to happen there. I do think, though, that if the Sixers are serious about winning next year, they got to take that pick. They got to trade it. They got to use it to make this roster better, and not through drafting somebody. The team doesn't need another young player who they hope will turn out. I think the organization has seen that through 4 different general managers that this organization is basically playing roulette when it comes to the draft. So I'm not interested in drafting another player if I'm the Sixers. Trade that pick. Trade whoever you got to trade to make this team better. Now, tonight, Warriors, Celtics. I think the Warriors win the first game of the series. I think the bright lights will be a little too big for Boston. I think they're coming off of a very physical series, 2 straight 7-game series with 2 physical teams. I think they're going to be a little bit, off of their A game tonight. I also think that the Stanley Cup Western Conference Finals Game 2 is going to be another high-scoring affair, and I think the Oilers win tonight. You got the backup goalie in net for Colorado. I think he's going to get lit up. Colorado's defense is not good enough. You saw what happened when Kempler left the game in Game 1. You saw that he goes out of the game, and the Oilers go on and score 3 goals. They had 3 against Kempler, 3 against the backup. But the 3 against Kempler were over 2 periods. The 3 against the backup were in 1 period. Bad situation for Colorado to be in tonight. All right, NBA Finals Game 1 tonight here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Sports Basketball Kill tomorrow at 2 p.m. I'll be back at 6 p.m. for Game Night. Have a great night, everybody.